And welcome to the latest Capital and Kayfabe. I'm your co-host, JP John Paz, from the two-man power trip. Of course, joining me is the political pundit, campaign manager, the author, the publisher. He is Mr. Jack Hunter. Jack, welcome in. How you doing?
Good to be with you, John. Looking forward to a conversation again today. Been having fun with these.
So, what is going on with? And I got to mention this right off the bat here because it's just so interesting to me. What is going on with Tucker Carlson lately, by the way? Because it seems like I don't know, is he on to something? Is he up to something? Seems like he's turning a little bit. I don't know. I kind of don't know what to make of
I
it
don't think
with
he's
Tucker.
turned. Look, Tucker's kind of been the same guy. When I say the same guy, he's been interested in the same things or had the same political priorities for a number of years now, including when he was on Fox News. I think a reason he's not on Fox News is people like Rupert Murdoch or somebody else in charge might have said, you can't talk about this subject or you can't talk about it in this way. And he's like, I'm the biggest guy on your network. The hell with you. I'm going to do what I want. And he did that
Yep.
often. He was
Yep.
the anti-war voice on Fox. Lots of different things. He would just talk about what he wants. Well, he's even less restricted now, going independent. He was a backer of Donald Trump, as were many. And part of that was, Trump and a lot of his team promising to release the Epstein files if he was reelected. They all said that. Trump said that. J.D. Vance said that. Tulsi Gabbard said that. They also, Kash Patel said that. Dan Bongino said that. They talked about it. They profited from it. They had podcasts about it. They all talked about it. And it's reasonable for any American, left, right, or anywhere in the middle, to think that this sexual predator who's convicted of child sex abuse and what looked like some sort of deal that protected a lot of people, that something's going on there. If there were victims, and then we know there were, then that means there were customers. And there is a client list. And now Donald Trump, after all these promises from him and administration, says, oh, it doesn't exist. You must be foolish to even think it exists. Well, we're not that stupid. You asked me what's going on with Tucker Carlson. He's not that stupid either. He gave a speech last weekend at the Turning Point USA event put on by Charlie Kirk, in which he basically said what a lot of people have speculated in Washington, D.C. for a long time, that he thinks that Jeffrey Epstein worked for intelligence. Tucker framed it probably not American, which leads people to believe maybe it was Mossad, the Israeli intelligence. And a lot of people think that maybe he found these powerful people, or put powerful people in compromising positions with underage girls and used that to blackmail them. That's what people think. We don't know that. I do not believe in trial by lynch mob. That's why we have due process. But justice should be served, and we should see any evidence, and it should be talked about, and there should be prosecutions if necessary. Obviously, he's dead. How? We would like to learn that too. They say it's a suicide. I don't buy that. Millions of Americans don't. Tucker Carlson is just asking all the right questions at the most high-profile perch you could possibly want. He's the most popular conservative commentator, one of the most popular commentators, period, in the country. I mean, we're talking about Joe Rogan territory, that kind of thing. And he's asking all the right questions that the establishment doesn't want asked, and that this president apparently doesn't want asked. And a lot of us feel betrayed because we were. And Trump rubbing it in our face and saying we're stupid for having questions about Jeffrey Epstein. We're not that stupid, Mr. President. You're the one that's in the wrong here. And Tucker Carlson's just saying that, and he's right.
It is crazy because it's like, wow, the controversy, I guess they thought was going to go away once they made those kind of weird statements like, oh, what are you talking about? Get out of here. And it just continues. I think it's ramping up almost.
Yeah, this is the thing that's really broken up the coalition. Look, MAGA, there are millions of people out there that voted for Donald Trump that if he contradicts himself tomorrow at what he just said yesterday, they don't care. They love Trump, right? That's the MAGA base.
Yep.
But what made Trump interesting, and some people have written about this, my friend Jude Russo, the American Conservative, had a column about this week, is there's also the MAGA that makes him interesting, which is your Tucker Carlson, which is your Joe Rogan, which is your Theo Vaughn, which is, going to minority groups in the Bronx and talking in a way that most Republican presidential candidates don't. Talking to different groups of civil libertarians and different people that really a conventional Republican doesn't appeal to. Going on these podcasts that are entertainment because Donald Trump's son Barron's like, hey, this is where the young folks are at. Go on these podcasts. That's what made Trump be something bigger than a conventional Republican could be. That's what made so many people who might have once voted for Barack Obama vote for Trump this time. He was different. That's what made people like Joe Rogan, who once supported Bernie Sanders, support Trump in 2024. That's what took him over the edge. That's what helped him. Elon Musk getting involved, all that. That's what took him to the finish line in 2024. Well, now with this Epstein thing, he's telling all those people, to hell with you. He even said, my past supporters, P-A-S-T in all caps, in one of his true social posts. I'm talking about Donald Trump, saying that those past supporters are goofy for caring about the Jeffrey Epstein situation. He's blowing up his base. And it's Steve Bannon said this. I'm not the only person to say this. For what? I don't know. People speculate. Elon Musk said, is he on the list? Because that's the only reason I could think to nuke your own base is to protect your own ass. And that's what it seems like he's doing. I don't know if he's on the list. I hope he's not. But boy, does it seem like it. Why would you do that? Why would you do that to the people who supported you, the most avidly supported you? I mean, you've got Marjorie Taylor Greene, the queen of MAGA, out there saying, we need some answers on Epstein.
My only thing is they would have brought it up already. You know what I mean? Like the Democrats, if he was really on the list, they would have been bringing it up for the last 8 years. You know what I mean? 10 years, if you will.
Yeah, you wouldn't have been making up stupid nonsense about Russia if you had something real like this. I agree. They would have already used it against them. So I don't know what's going on.
So when you look at that, right, it's just like, does he think by saying like posts like that and past and all that other, does he think that's going to make it go away, or is he trying to rile everybody up?
If he's riling them up, he's riling them up in a way that's a disservice to himself. You know, like that Turning Point USA thing that happened, you know, it'll be a week or two by the time this comes out, but that happened recently, as I talked to you to hear today, John, was MAGA Fest. It was Charlie Kirk. It was Tucker Carlson. It was Steve Bannon. It was all those people, and all of them were talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and all of them were saying Donald Trump was wrong. You can't tell me somebody that pays as much attention to media as President Donald Trump didn't see that and didn't register on some level. He's still insulting those people. I don't understand it. I don't understand what the incentive is to do that. The incentive is to give people something evidence-wise about Epstein. And don't say there isn't any. That's just dumb. That's absurd. Virginia Guffreys, who's no longer with us, one of the victims of Epstein when she was underage, she didn't exist. That was a hoax. No, it wasn't. We see the photos, and they're not AI.
Just crazy to think like we're so for it and like obsessed with it, and like you said, maybe making some money off of it, and maybe going to podcast about it, or whatever. Even I remember Cash Patel was like, "Oh, as soon as I get in, we're and then nothing."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he promised. He promised on different people's podcasts and things. Bongino did the same, and now they're like, "Oh, there's nothing there."
Any truth to Bongino wanting out now because he's pissed about this, or is that just?
I saw the rumors. He's still there. This is what, and I've seen people say this too. He was a successful radio host, podcaster. Dan Bongino had a good show. He joined the administration, which is understandable. That's a different kind of role. But what Trump's saying right now is undermining everything Dan Bongino ever said about this subject and others, and he's undermining himself by insisting that there's no evidence. So, like, let's say he resigned. Can he go back and do a show and have any credibility? Yeah, you see what I'm saying? Like the Trump future, as far as, because I mean, the administration is going to come and go, and maybe a JD Vance or somebody else is president that they could work with them or something. But 3.5 years from now, it could be a different president. And what if you go back to talk radio or podcasting, a streaming world? Do you have the integrity, or not the integrity, but the credibility that you once had with that audience? I would dare say no. And I don't say that gladly. I don't want to see anybody fail, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it kind of hurts yourself there, unless you quit and say they screwed you, and then maybe you could build a controversial fan base that's like backing you because this guy got screwed, and we're going to support him because he wanted the answers, he wanted truth, he's for the truth,
right? And
never got it.
No, I think that's right. People are this isn't true all influencers, but people are attracted to others they think are real. And if you lose that, you lose a lot.
Yeah, the credibility, right? I mean, and
Right.
even Trump, to a certain extent, was like, cutting promos like like an average Joe would. So I feel like that got him over. But now he's going maybe a little overboard with some of that stuff.
Right. And look at it like this. This is a show about politics in wrestling. There are lots of wrestlers we like because they're entertaining, but then there's wrestlers that we're really more interested in because they seem real. Look at CM
Yep.
Punk. He's just
Yes.
next level. Like, that guy's not messing around no matter who's the booker or what company he's working for. He's not going to lie to his fans. He's with us, even if it's a job. And when I say that, I'm not talking about don't do kayfabe and do your job, but do you know what I'm saying? He will walk out of somewhere if he don't like what's going on. We've seen it twice from the
Yes.
two biggest companies in wrestling. So
Yes.
I think the same is true with political influencers, and we're talking about Bongino, things like that. Like, that matters, that intangible thing.
Speaking of being real, can't think of anybody perhaps more real than Bill Goldberg, who recently retired after WWE Saturday Night's Main Event. Wanted to get your take on this. I know you were chomping a bit talking about Goldberg, but not just the fact that he had his last match in Atlanta. I guess it was about 13,000 in attendance, almost a sellout, if not a sellout for that show. I think it did 1.4 million, I believe, that night. It was number one. I know they did back-to-back number one for the first time ever on prime time. Friday and Saturday, number one on SmackDown, number one on for Friday for SmackDown, number one on Saturday for Saturday Night's Main Event. So good job, WWE, there. But Goldberg is not happy with them. I was kind of shocked to see this, but it was crazy. He was pissed, but then he says he was happy, but then he goes back to being pissed. So what is going on with Goldberg?
So, first of all, congratulations to Hangman Adam Page for being the new AEW World Champion in one of the most amazing matches, amazing main events I've seen on one of the most amazing pay-per-views ever, all in AEW 2025. On that same night, what we're talking about now, Bill Goldberg was in the main event of Saturday night's main event. It was a good show. Bill Goldberg had his match. I think he went about 14 minutes. I think who said the last time he went 14 minutes was in 2003, because Bill Goldberg is not known for matches that long. That's usually wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, spear, jackhammer, grunt, be done. It's great. He did that. Obviously, the Seth Rollins match was cut short because he is injured, we think, maybe. I thought Goldberg's match was good. Thank you, Gunther. Gunther really put in the work on that and made it look good. Goldberg has had some matches in recent WWE history with Roman and some others that weren't all that great, but this looked good. It was 14 minutes. It looked good. He gave a speech afterward that NBC cut short, but guess what, guys? It's NBC. That you don't do overruns on NBC. It just is what it is.
Yep.
And to your point, John, afterwards, as a fan watching, I'm not like the biggest Goldberg fan, but I like him. I'm of a certain age and watched his rise to fame in WCW, and it was cool and whatnot. Goldberg's crappy attitude about it afterward, saying, oh, it should have been on a PLE and not just a Saturday night's main event, and they cut his thing. Dude, WWE does not need you. If you never had a retirement match and were just, doing signings at WrestleCons and stuff, which is fine. That's great. I love that all the wrestlers can do that. They don't need you. They're fine. This was an extra. This was them thinking originally, oh, how can we get back at AEW with their All-In show? We'll do Goldberg's final match. Well, they changed the times, and that wasn't really the dynamic. But Cody draws, Roman draws, the Bloodline, whatever configuration of that draws, CM Punk draws. They've seen a draws. Rhea Ripley draws. They've got the business. They don't need you, Bill Goldberg. You should be thankful that the biggest wrestling company in the world decided to do some business of benefit to you in your own hometown of Atlanta, having a last match in front of your family. That's pretty cool. And thanks to Gunther, their employee, who gave you a great match. Like, it's all good. It's about the best you could ask for, considering who's involved. And he's still pissed off about it. I have lost some respect for him because of that. Bret Hart has always said what he said about how he injures people. And we've learned that the spear, I guess Charles Robinson, the referee, had a cracked rib or something, and Bret Hart has commented on that. I'm not a wrestler. I'm not a performer. I'm just a fan. I don't pretend to be. So I'd never, rested my opinion on Bill Goldberg on Bret Hart's opinion of Bill Goldberg. But as a fan and watching what he said after WWE doing about as right by him as you could possibly ask for, and he's still mad, yeah, I've lost a little bit of respect for him. That's not cool. And I hope his son's such a big dude. Now he's going to play college football if he gets into the wrestling business. Think about your son. Like, don't be that way.
Yeah, for sure. The thing that kind of surprised me is, okay, you doing a PLE, blah, blah. They have Atlanta booked. That's Saturday night's main event. You know what I mean? You can't just do that and just plan for the future. And like, they have these dates already planned out. If you want to do Atlanta, you want to do the hometown thing, when the hell's next time they're going to be in Atlanta? So, I mean, he's got to think about that stuff too. I mean, this is pre-planned way in advance here.
Yeah. No, if he was on NBC network TV for free, like, it doesn't get any bigger than that. That's the whole reason they're on NBC. That's the idea back in the day with the Animotion song and Hulkamania. Like, he's just looking at. I can't imagine the guys not only in the WWE locker room but in other companies who are just busting their butt and looking at something like that. Like, really, dude? You know, I've heard wrestlers say back, when Punk was in WWE when he was not happy, 8 years ago or whatever it was. He was at WrestleMania fighting The Undertaker. Still wasn't happy about it. They're like, huh? Okay, you're not in the main event, but you're fighting The Undertaker at WrestleMania, and you're upset. Like, if you're some mid-card or lower level person, you're like, what? What is that? If I went to see Van Halen and Eddie was complaining about the venue size was too small or something, I'm in a band trying to do my thing. Like, no, Eddie Van Halen, you quit whining. Not that he did that. I'm just using a hypothetical example. That's what Bill Goldberg comes across as. It's stupid.
And if you remember, the next year he was supposed to fight Triple H at WrestleMania 30, and he said that wasn't good enough either. So I was like,
what is
damn.
That?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, Goldberg always seems to be kind of up and down. Like, he'll complain that he didn't get a retirement match, and he gets it, and then he complains about, you know what I mean? Like, I love Goldberg, but I was just like, man, that just irked me a bit, because it was like they did all this stuff and kowtowed to you a bit. They didn't have to do that. Triple H made sure that you got, Gunther in the last match. They built it up. Everything else, it just was one of those things where he's kind of like backhanded compliment. Oh, thanks for them doing it. Oh, but it should have been a Philly. Oh, it should have been. I just felt like, man, that it just irks me a bit that he can kind of just, I don't know, rip on it after they did all that great stuff. And then if you watch the YouTube, they had the whole thing, and all everybody was out there, and he had a little goodbye and everything. So I don't know. I feel like it's a little overboard to complain about it.
It's sour grapes. And look, I'm not one of these people online who's always looking to hate on different wrestling figures or companies. Like, you got to give me a reason. Bill Goldberg just gave me a reason. Triple H, and that they don't call him the post show for WWE after Evolution, was putting over Goldberg and saying nice things and all that. Like, and once again, they don't need you, Bill Goldberg. They do not need you. If you had nothing to do with them, their business is fine. So be gracious and be grateful. Talking about Bill Goldberg's son, if he has a future in WWE, Scott Steiner used to trash talk WWE all the time. Then Braun Breaker comes along, his nephew, and he stopped it. And Scott Steiner, I think, has even said, well, I want Braun to do well, so I don't say that kind of thing. Like, that's what you do. Like,
yes.
And, like, come on, get a clue, Bill Goldberg. Come on.
And even he said he wanted his son, who's playing football now, who's pretty jacked, by the way.
Absolutely.
And now he's part of the NIL program. He was saying, I don't want to ruin it for him either, just in case.
Exactly. That's just basic parenting. Come on.
I love that Scott Steiner is so brutally honest. Like, he's telling you why he's not doing it anymore.
Right.
But it's honest.
He was working. It's entertaining. He wasn't in the company, so he just talk trash, and people talk about it, and I get it.
And I love, though, that he can't be contained. Like, when they were like, hey, we got to do a drug test. He's like, I want a limo sent to my house. I want Triple H in a limo, and we're going to the drug test together. They're like, all right, canceled. We're not doing it. Yeah, you're good.
And people loved it. Yeah.
Yes.
That's pretty funny.
He's the best. I love him.
I don't think he has the Shoney's anymore in Georgia.
Didn't he sell it, or what happened?
I think so, but he had it. I love the commercials that he was on. If you can find those on YouTube, they're pretty funny. He's like
good,
a bulldozer, like breaking ground for his Shoney's and stuff.
Love me some Scotty Steiner. The thing, too, about Goldberg, right, Saturday night's main event, AEW started early to kind of counteract them taking away some business from them. But really, the show went so damn long, it actually went about an hour or so into Saturday night's main event. So it actually ended up hurting, albeit small, but it definitely hurt the rating for Saturday night's main event a little bit.
Well, I was kind of smiling when Tony did that. Like, And nobody's talked about it. I haven't heard Meltzer or Sean Ross Sapp or any of the guys. And maybe it's in my mind. Correct me, John, if you think I'm wrong. But as I'm watching it, obviously I'm enjoying this crazy match between Hangman and John Moxley and how it ended up and who showed up and all that. It was cool and how violent it was. But I'm also thinking, all right, Tony Khan is annoyed that when he announces a date for All In all this time forward, the WWE does Saturday Night's main event. It's business, but he's annoyed by it. Yep. Okay, we changed the times. All In's going to be earlier in the day, as you just mentioned. Saturday Night's main event starts at 8 o'clock that night. And Tony's like, the hell with it. I'm going to go an hour into their time, tit for tat. And I was like, it's business. You did it to him. He's going to do it to you. Now, I haven't seen the buy rates on All In, but they've done 150, 200,000 buy rates before, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I mean, in that category, if you're looking at the ratings and it's 1.2 million or 1.4 million, whatever it is, 200,000 matters. I know me watching All In, I'm like, oh God, I got to turn over to Saturday Night's main event. Quit watching this John Moxley, Hangman, Adam Page match. No sane wrestling fan I know would have done that, especially after paying $50. So if it hurt them a little, I don't want to see any of these companies get hurt, but they're trying to hurt each other. And Tony was able to do that. Like, hey, you asked for this. Take a little bit of your own medicine. Good for him.
Thing is, to me, and I know people will complain and get mad at me about this, but that's just too damn long of a pay-per-view. I don't know if I could last.
Totally. That's a separate issue. Long. I'm just talking about retaliatory,
great.
Business. But I think 4 hours is too long, actually. A 3.5 would be better. But yes. In that one instance, and I always complain about AEW, like this is too long, this pay-per-view. In that one instance, I wasn't mad at it for that reason.
Do you think just in general, 7 hours or whatever it was, I guess technically counting the pre-show, right? It went 7 hours.
It's too much. It's a disservice to the wrestlers who, if I have, 5 steaks in front of me, it's going to be good at first and I'm going to get tired of it. Even though steak is awesome. I love wrestling pretty much more than anything else entertainment wise. And you can have too much of it. That weekend, I watched everything except the NXT Great American Bash show because I had too much to watch and it wasn't going to compare to everything else I watched anyways, with All In being at the top of that list. If it was this weekend where I plan on watching Slammiversary Sunday, but all you really have going on is Collision and SmackDown, I would watch that NXT special if it was in a different place. But where they put it, I don't, time's passed. I kind of already know what happened. I'm not going to go back and catch up. That they did that to themselves.
Do you think that the pay-per-view matches themselves? Because when I didn't see the pay-per-view, but I was reading the match times and I was following along, and I got to somehow watch that Okada Omega match because I love those guys. But do you think that the matches should just be shorter in general? Like you could have 10 matches, but shorter matches on the pay-per-view because they were really long.
Who it is. The Omega Okada match was good, but it was the least of all their matchups, in my opinion. If they had never fought before, you'd be like, man, that was one of the best matches I ever saw. But we've seen what they've done before. So I don't. Part of me wonders, from a booker's perspective, was that you don't want to outshine Moxley Hangman? I don't know, because that's old school thinking. But do you do that with Omega Okada and the promise? I don't know. But the long shows, it's a disservice to the fans. People fatigue. The part of what's so amazing about Hangman Moxley and what a reaction it got is how long those fans have been watching wrestling that day and how excited they still were. And that's a testament to the guys in the ring and what they did, the story they told. But 7 hours is too long for a pay-per-view. A good 3.5 hours for $50 is money well spent.
I totally agree. I was just looking at like the Battle Royal. I'm like, okay, the men's Battle Royal went 35 minutes. The women's Battle Royal went 30 minutes. Do you really need that? Like you could literally cut an hour right there. It's like that. I know they're trying to build up NJF and blah, blah, but I was like, man, you got to cut that down. That's just way too long. I know they do a little bit different Battle Royals, but that's just way too long for that.
It is. Crazy. And if you took both of those and maybe some other match, I don't want to pinpoint any because I really did enjoy the whole pay-per-view off. It would have made a better pay-per-view just as far as duration and length. Tony Storm and Mercedes Moné was absolutely fantastic. What an entertaining story they told. There were a lot of good matches on that show. Nobody is talking about the Nick Wayne match was pretty good. So lots of good stuff. Ring of Honor Supercard the Friday before. Holy hell, there was some good stuff on that. So when AEW says, I know that was Ring of Honor, but this is where the best wrestle. They prove it time and time and time again. I just don't need to see it for 7 hours.
It is pretty crazy. So let's look at the weekend, right? You had ROH, technically it's an AEW production, but you got ROH Supercard of Honor. Then you had All In, right? So that's the AEW portion. WWE portion, obviously, you had SmackDown. Then you had NXT Great American Bash. Then you had Saturday's Main Event. Then you had Evolution. So who wins? Who wins the weekend? Who do you think won? AEW or WWE?
To me, All In wins the weekend. Like, that was the best show, no doubt. Then it would be Evolution for me. Then probably the Ring of Honor show. Saturday night's main event was good, and I liked seeing Bill Goldberg do it one more time, but it wasn't as good as who. I'm drawing a blank now. Who did Titan and Bandito? That match at Ring of Honor was off the charts good. Nobody's talking about it because everything that just happened right after it within the next 48 hours. But like, that was an off the charts awesome match. I was a Bandito fan. Like, oh, I like this guy. He's pretty cool. After that, whole other level for me. That one match.
Bandito was awesome.
All In took it. Evolution second. All In's up here. Here's Evolution. And I would say the Ring of Honor went about here. Saturday night's main event after that. And I didn't watch the NXT one, so I don't know.
It felt like just from people online gathering opinions, nobody really was talking about NXT that much. They got completely outshined Saturday afternoon by AEW.
They got completely overwhelmed, and I think that's a disservice to those NXT performers. Go out there and do your best to show that people are really not paying attention to.
Yes, that's kind of true, unfortunately. The crazy thing is, too, though, then you had Evolution, so there was so much wrestling on that weekend. Did you see Evolution? Did you like Evolution?
I loved it. I thought it was great. That women's match with Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, and then when this comes out, if you don't know by now, I'm going to spoil it for you, but Naomi cashed in and is the women's champion. And as we talked today, we've already seen her on Raw cutting the best promo on the entire show. Boy, was she good. What did she call the women at the back? Raggedy heifers. That was the line that got me the most. That match was incredible. Women's wrestling's in a different place than it was certainly years ago. I agree with Triple H a little bit. Like, we can do another Evolution, but every time you watch Raw and SmackDown, the women are prominently featured as much as the men. Rhea Ripley is as big a star in that company as Cody or John Cena or anybody else. She just is. And my favorite women's wrestler is Charlotte Flair, because I live in South Carolina, and Rick, and her own talent. That's how good she is. She's the best.
Yep.
And her star is huge, but Rhea's as much a top star. I would say Charlotte is too. Bailey, and that's where we're at. That match with Rhea and Io Sky that Naomi became involved with, as good as women's wrestling is right now, I think even took it up to another level. That's saying a lot.
With Charlotte, do you think that she's better as a babyface or a heel? Because it seems like they were trying to make her a babyface. Then the Tiffany Stratton thing happened. Now she's definitely heel. But now you put her with Alexa Bliss, who's like super over. So are they trying to make her a babyface?
I think she's a natural heel like her dad, and they both prefer to be that. I don't want to speak for anybody, but she's kind of said that. Obviously, her dad said that.
Yeah.
But when people are cheering for you, you want to kind of run with it. The Hurt Syndicate are heels. Nobody boos them. I don't know what they're going to do with that long term, but it is what it is. I think Charlotte was in danger, and I don't say this gladly because I think it's unfair, of maybe getting into that go-away heat territory, not because she's not good, but because of attitudes online and the fickleness of wrestling fans. And she's the best in-ring wrestler to me among the women. Like, she's that good. She's the standard bearer. But some people just got a weird way about her because, oh, your last name's Flair and all that kind of stuff. And I think it got to her a little bit and kind of infected the fan base in a way that I don't think is healthy. And I think the company probably looks at stuff like that. And maybe them putting her with Io Sky, who's definitely a babyface everybody loves. She can be a babyface again and kind of get past some of that. Am I wrong? Are you seeing that too, what I'm talking about? It's stupid. I don't like it, but
I also think there's a part of the booking that isn't helping Charlotte. Like, anytime that like a big show rolls around, they automatically put her in the main event. Like you know what I mean? Like, oh, we need to get Tiffany over. Put her with with Charlotte. I think fans are starting to see that, and it's like that pattern. You kind of have to shake it up a little bit. Like maybe now with Bliss, she's a tag team for a little bit, and then she can work her back in the main event. Like it almost seems like they just infuse her no matter what back in the main event, but instead of making a cool story or build it up a little bit where she's back in the main.
Yes, no, I agree with you. Just kind of because she's such a known and solid, reliable commodity.
Right.
Oh, let's just throw Charlotte in there. That
Yep.
She deserves more attention than that, given who she is and what she represents and gives to that company. She said something interesting recently. You know, she's 39 years old, and she was talking about the double standards for men and women in her business. What did she say? She goes, I'm 39 years old. Some people might think that's, you know, getting up there. She goes, I'm younger than the face of the company, Cody Rhodes. I'm 7 years younger than the guy who was in the main event of WrestleMania one of the nights, CM Punk. I'm 7 years younger than the world heavyweight champion, John Cena. She's like, nobody talks about those guys like they're old. She's like, I'm younger than all of them. And people talk about that. She goes, it's because I'm a woman. And I agree with her. It's a double standard. It's BS. People don't remember that when Vince McMahon, well, I guess some people remember this. When Vince McMahon wanted Macho Man Randy Savage to just be a commentator because he thought he was too old to be in the ring, he was 38 years old, right?
Yep.
That was Vince McMahon's perception of what a male wrestler too old was at the time. Obviously, that's stupid. Look at AJ Styles, one of the best wrestlers in the world right now. He's in his late 40s. Look at the Hurt Syndicate, who are 50. And they at 55, I expect them to look exactly like that and still doing the same thing. You know, didn't Lou Thez have some matches in the 60s? I don't know what they look like, but we got to get that crap out of our head, like the ageism thing. If you look good, you can still do it in the ring. And maybe if you couldn't even do it like you used to do it, Rey Mysterio doesn't do now what he did when he was in his 20s, but he does some awesome stuff and he's good and he's there. I think Charlotte's right. It's a double standard for women. And we're at a place in professional wrestling, if you can still go. Vince McMahon in the 90s would have benched CM Punk. He just said, you're too old. And that watching the product now, that's stupid. That's one of your top guys. I think that's dated thinking, whether we're talking about Charlotte, Flair, or anybody else.
Forget how old Savage was, but he was approaching 40 or 40-ish.
He was 38 years old. He's like, screw this. I'm going to WCW and joining the NWO and still wrestle.
He had at least 6 more good years in WCW, and obviously ended up hurting WWF by letting him go because he was an immediate draw. And, you know, the Slim Jim money. I mean, just a huge mistake by Vince. I mean, just dumb.
Yeah, and you know, with the CMLL partnership with AEW, you're seeing some of their legends that are in their 40s or 50s. Blue Panther wrestling the other night. I looked it up. He was 56 years old. No, he was 64 years old. It was something like that. Maybe I've got the wrong wrestler, but it was a CML.
Older.
Yeah, but like he was in his 50s or 60s. He was out there and wrestling, and I enjoyed it, and it was good. And, you know, the Latino fans especially knew who that was and were excited. And I was like, yeah, I guess that was just a specific Vince McMahon era American wrestling thing for a time. Because guys in the 50s and 60s would go for a long time. They'd be old dude wrestlers.
Crazy, though. Like Natalia's in her 40s. She's in maybe the best shape of her life. You wouldn't even know it. Look
at Tiffany Stratton. She's pushing 50 or somewhere in there, right? Late 40s. Am I wrong?
Oh, Trish Stratus.
Trish Stratus. What? Yeah, not Tiffany Stratton. She's 20 something. But Trish Stratus. People confuse.
Trish Stratus is 49 and literally looks like she's probably about 24, which is insane.
Looks like she's 24, can still go in the ring. She's a fitness instructor. And let's be honest, Vince McMahon hired her because she's extremely good looking. That's what he cared about the most. Guess what's going on at 49 years old? She's extremely good looking. So like all those things, all the things she brings to the table, she's still there.
Yep. And I guess when they hired her, they didn't know how good of an athlete she was because she's a pretty damn good athlete. You know what I mean?
Sure is.
You got to keep around. So, you know, we're talking about obviously the guys that are healthy right now or in good shape or looking good. I got to talk about maybe a sour note for AEW. Adam Cole, the injury. What happened there? There's a little bit of controversy. What's going on with Adam Cole?
Well, we know, and correct me if I'm wrong, that it's a concussion of some sort, correct?
Yes.
That's what everybody that I trust in wrestling media has said, and I don't listen to a lot of people I don't trust. we saw the speech, if you watched All In, and he mentioned that it could be retirement. He didn't know. He said he wasn't in that headspace. I love Adam Cole, especially that black and gold era of NXT when Triple H was in charge and he was wrestling Pat McAfee and all that.
Yep.
Loved it, loved it, loved it. I was excited when he came to AEW, and I hate as a fan that he's had all the health issues he's had. I know he hates it worse. So hopefully he can get past this and come back and be the same old Adam Cole. But boy, did he seem scared about what the future lies ahead when he was giving that speech.
When you look at it, though, when he got powerbombed a few weeks ago on the apron, I guess it looked like he hit his head, possibly. What was like the I guess the fervor? What happened around that point? Was he concussed? Is that where these issues really started? Was this just something that he always had concussion issues?
I don't know. Tony Khan was asked about it in his All In scrum, and I guess Adam wrestled on the Ring of Honor show the night before. Was that right, or am I getting that wrong? Or maybe it was Collision on Thursday or something.
Collision. Yep.
He'd wrestled just recently, and Tony Khan said when he went to bed Friday night that he assumed it was going to be Adam Cole, fighting Kyle Fletcher on his pay-per-view. And then the next morning they had a conversation about it, and that wasn't the case anymore. And that was Adam going to his boss and them deciding that it would be best for him not to be on the show. I don't know, John. I don't like to say anything beyond what we can reliably say we know, which is that he had a concussion, and it sucks.
Because it seems like there's some people who are showing the clothesline from Fletcher. It seems like weeks ago that maybe we should have been more like keen on it when he got almost powerbombed on the apron, because that could have set off a horrible chain of events. You never know if you don't really treat the concussion then, and if he doesn't sit out. Right. Who knows if like a clothesline will exacerbate the situation even further. I was just like, man, that's just horrible, horrible timing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we saw what Nikita Koloff did to David Crockett with his clothesline. David Crockett never walked again. I'm just kidding. That didn't happen. But it could be a dangerous move. People always talk about Stan Hansen's lariat. This is wrestlers talking. What makes it so scary is he can't see. He's blind. He just, wherever it lands, it lands. You don't know where you're at or what's going on. So, yeah, it could be a dangerous move.
The crazy thing is about the David Crockett, he still brings it up, like kind of joking, like kayfabe, if you will, keeping the kayfabe. That
he does.
Nikita, yeah.
So I have a personal friend here in Charleston, South Carolina, and we were all at a bar one night with the singer of my cover band, who's a huge Ric Flair fan, wrestling fan. We're both wrestling fans, especially Jim Crockett. And we're talking with her, and she doesn't really watch wrestling. And she goes, "Have I ever told y'all that I know David Crockett?" And we're like, "What?" Her mother dated David Crockett for a time. Whoa. And I saw David Crockett, I think it was Starrcast in Baltimore before Full Gear in 2019. And I said, "Mr. Crockett, you don't know me, but I know." And I said her name, and his eyes lit up. He's like, "I haven't seen her in years. How's she doing?" And we recorded a video that I sent to my friend and her mother of David Crockett saying hi all these years. But anytime I see him somewhere, I'm like, "Oh, I'm the guy who knows." And, it's kind of neat. I always joke with my friend that that's her real dad, David Crockett.
I was going to say, how do we know that David Crockett isn't her dad?
I met her mother one time at a wedding, and she goes, "Let me introduce you to my mother." I'm like, "Hey, I've been wanting to meet you." And she looked at me and goes, "I kissed David Crockett more than any other girl around." That's the first thing her mother said to me.
Oh, my God. Wow. Look at that. She's proud of that.
And it's so funny. Her mom didn't really have any concept of how big professional wrestling was in the 80s when the Crockett's had their own company, David and his brother Jimmy. And she was always trying to encourage him when they were dating to have something to fall back on, like a trade.
Oh, God.
Like, she didn't get that they were making buckets of money with Ric Flair and the Rock and Roll Express and Midnights. She didn't understand that. I always found that amusing.
Love that. What is the cover band? What is going on there?
I've been in this band for 17 years. We're called Dante's Camaro. Our singer thinks he's Ric Flair. He talks about how much money we have. We flew into the show on our Lear jets. We're walking out of here with all your girlfriends and wives. Look at how good looking we are, how much it costs to hire us, all that kind of stuff. The music we play, we'll start with like AC/DC, and the next song is the Backstreet Boys. Then we go into Iron Maiden. Then we're doing a Cher song. You see the formula. Yeah. Before we play the Backstreet Boys, we start with Slayer's Rain and Blood, like the intro, and then we go into the Backstreet Boys. We actually had a guy at a bar one time, like totally irate. He thought we had disrespected Slayer, like wanted to fight. And our singer's kind of big. He's like, "All right, dude, come on. If you want to seriously fight me, you drunk jerk, over disrespecting Slayer with the Backstreet Boys. We'll do it. But I've been doing it for years. We still play sometimes, and people still come. So why not? But definitely a wrestling themed band. Like he's cutting wrestling promos the whole time.
Did you say Dante's Camaro instead of
Dante's
Inferno?
Camaro, which is a reference from Clerks. Dante has a Camaro. Our singer came up with the name. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the playoff of Dante's Inferno there for a second.
Well, it's
I
that
wasn't
too.
sure.
It's both. Yeah.
I love the Camaro, one of my favorite cars. I love the Camaro, especially in the '80s. I love the Camaros.
Oh God, if WWE ever, well, I probably shouldn't say this. Some of the merch we've put out over the years, if WWE ever saw it, we'd probably be in trouble. There's Camaros too, but there's some other things.
Hey, you're not making millions off of it though, so they can't come at you. They can't come after you. Yeah.
No, we got free bar tabs and a couple $100 in our pocket, and that's about it.
I love that. So we're talking about Adam Cole and that injury, but we also briefly mentioned there's the Seth Rollins injury too. I'm hearing this is crazy though, and it's funny. Meltzer was kind of the only one really reporting this, and I kind of believe it. But he's saying that it's not as bad as what they're saying, because whenever he's able to make a surprise return, they'll do something with the Money in the Bank, and it'll catch everybody off guard, and it won't be the predictable Money in the Bank cash in, I guess, that you're used to.
Well, most people are taking this injury seriously. WWE is saying it seriously. WWA, what is that? But also, this is professional wrestling. Dave Meltzer, even more so, Brian Alvarez, seems confident that Seth Rollins hurt himself. I think his knee they were talking about, like legit, earlier, before Saturday night's main event, and was pretending to be injured on that, LA Knight beating him very quickly with the blunt force trauma, to allow this lesser injury to heal, but asked if he's hurt, he could honestly say yes, but it wasn't what you saw on Saturday night's main event. This is what Alvarez says his sources tell him. It's something like that. And at SummerSlam, or whether maybe it's after that, after he's healed, if he cashes in other words, he's not out for 9 months. He was out for 4 weeks or whatever it is, 3 weeks. That would surprise everybody. Nobody would expect that, and it'd be pretty cool. If that's what's going to happen, I don't know. Is it real? I don't know. And as a wrestling fan, you know what I like most about professional wrestling? When I don't know. When I can't figure it out or guess on the spot. That's always the best kind of wrestling to me. So kudos to them for keeping me wondering.
To me, though, why would you work it like that if you have SummerSlam right around the corner and you need another big match? Like Roman versus Seth could have been another big match. So to me, it's almost like, oh, he's got to be hurt, though, because they wouldn't screw over a big match at SummerSlam to work a kayfabe injury, I don't think.
Tell me if you can think of more perfect booking than this. CM Punk beats Gunther at SummerSlam for the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yes.
Seth catches in.
As a surprise. Wow.
Because those guys already hate each other. We've seen it, but you go back to that, except one of them's got a belt now. And he just took it from the other guy who just won it. Like, you got the surprise with the cash in that nobody expected because they thought he'd be out for an extended period of time. The guys who hate each other more, whether Kayfabe or in real life, than anybody else in the company, and two of the top stars, but one's got the belt. Like, how can you book that better?
I would have, if I'm them, I would have had Roman versus Seth. Roman beats Seth. You think he's done for the night. Then have Punk win. Then Rollins comes out, because then Roman has hey, I should be champ. I just beat Rollins, who just beat Punk, who's a champ, just to keep another guy like, wow, this, you know what I mean? Like another main event guy that you would immediately have a feud for.
Yeah, no, that would be great too. It's a wonderful time to be a wrestling fan.
That is true. And I hope Punk Gunther is the main event of night one, because I have tickets. Me and my son, we have tickets for night one.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah, I hope it is too. And I think Punk will win this. Gunther's in a place, he's just such a badass. He's had it and lost it, has it again, and he can lose it, and he's bulletproof. I think he's in a place where it's not like, oh, he's diminished because it doesn't matter. He's Gunther. I think that's where he is. Like John Cena doesn't need a belt. Cody doesn't need a belt. I think Gunther's in that category. At this point, I'm not saying he's quite as big a star as they are, but he's in that category. Whether he has a belt or not does not determine his value.
This is crazy. Me and my son do not care for John Cena, so we did not want to go to night two. We love CM Punk. We're hoping, because we knew Cody was going to be the main event, obviously against Cena night two, but we were hoping Punk was in the main event of night one because we're huge Punk fans. So I was like, I think we should, and he said it too. He's like, I think we should do night one. So I'm like, okay. He didn't want to do both. He said just one. We'll just do night one.
Okay.
We'll watch it, obviously night two. But I don't think just in case they did some chicanery, like the horrible booking of WrestleMania 41 with Cena, like in case they ruined our night again. It's like, okay, let's go to safe bet night one.
I think you picked the right night. That's what I would probably do too. And I'm a John Cena fan. I'm obviously a Cody fan. He's like my top guy. But I'm sorry you had to take a second mortgage out on your house to buy those tickets.
Oh, crazy. They're very expensive. Very expensive.
I'm not going to ask.
Yeah. They're a little crazy. It's one of those things where it's like, how could they get away with it? Then you go to WrestleTix and you look, you're like, well, that's how, because everybody's still buying them. You know what I mean? I think that's the supply demand.
If the market demands it and they can make the money, I'm not mad at that. As a consumer and a fan, I can decide whether they get my money or not. And I'm going to be watching a lot more AEW live than WWE right now for that reason. So if there's enough of people like me and they have to lower their prices, that's the market too.
Will you be going to AEW in Philly? I've actually never been to an AEW show before, so I'm planning on going maybe to a couple that are at the ECW arena in Philly.
I don't know if I'm going to that. I'm in Charleston right now. But I have the only time I've been to that arena, you were there. I was with you guys. You remember the NWO thing where we were.
That was awesome.
Me and somebody else picked up X-Pac at the hotel, and he's like, who's a super sweet guy, nice guy. We talked about wrestling, a couple other things on the car ride, but he said, am I in DX today or NWO? He wasn't sure what he was going to. And I had an NWO shirt on. He didn't have one. So I gave him mine and I went and bought another one. But
that's right.
I've tweeted him since like, hey man, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I still got your NWO shirt. He'll say that. So fun times. Nice day. It was great.
You know what's great? I think Sean Waltman is a big Jack Hunter mark, if you know what I mean.
Maybe.
I think he's a big fan of your politics and stuff. I think he loves it.
We talked about politics a little bit. I told him I knew Glenn like personally, and we talked about that a little bit and talked about a couple other things. But just a sweet guy, not looking to hurt anybody. I do think it's funny that like he didn't know if he was going to be part of DX or NWO on the day of.
That's great. I always find it funny too because I've booked Kevin Nash a few times, and he's like, "Oh, I forgot my NWO shirt." I was like, "Twice you forgot the NWO shirt?" Like, what is it? But it's so funny.
I was glad to give it to him for the story.
Yeah. Yes. It's great though, like when these guys like are at these signings and stuff, and they can kind of let loose and meet the fans and do all that stuff. Because to me, that's the best. Like some of those signings that aren't that nuts, where they don't rush you through. Like those are cool when you get those moments to talk to the guys for a few minutes.
Yeah, and you can tell the real pros who it's important to them to take their time with the people, no matter how many it is, and because that can be grueling. Imagine you're sitting there for hours and hours talking to all those people. A lot of this, a lot of smiling, and to keep your composure and appreciate that the reason you're in the position you're in and have the wealth you have, depending on how famous you are, and have the career that you have, all those people in that line on that day. And you've seen some people who aren't professional and can't handle that, but you always appreciate the ones who can.
When you look at some of those guys that are really good with the fans, and people aren't going to like me to say this, you know who the best is and the nicest and the coolest and the guy that literally will keep a person there for as long as they want to be kept? You wouldn't guess in a million years. Or maybe you would, actually. I don't know.
Who are you saying?
Hulk Hogan. He is the best with the fans.
That doesn't surprise me at all. You've heard stories about, especially like the height of Hulkamania, he'd be on an airplane and anybody wanted a picture or autograph, they all got it. He took his time. Some of the controversies that have happened with him, I bet he's even more gracious, show a little grace and forgiveness to me. But even before that, when he didn't necessarily need that, he was always like that. And I respect it. The Hardy Boys, I think, are like that.
They're awesome. Yeah. Yep.
They just take their time and appreciate. There's still two country boys from North Carolina who live their dream. And it comes across. I got to meet both of the Briscoes when Jay was with us at a thing they did, Ring of Honor in Baltimore. Yep. And it was a thing where you're supposed to buy a ticket and then get a picture, but I was stupid. All I knew was I was walking in the lobby and there's Mark and Jay Briscoe sitting there, and I freaked out. That's all I knew. So I just kind of like gave them cash and took a picture and talked to them for a while. They're super sweet and nice.
Yes.
This is when they were doing the thing where they were feuding with the NWA. In Ring of Honor, do you remember that? I had an NWA shirt on, like the old that I'd gotten to one of Billy Corgan's shows I'd attended. And they're like, we don't like this shirt, but you seem all right. And they talked to me for a little bit. Cool
They're
guy.
cool as hell. Yeah, they were really
But to
cool.
your point about people who take time with the fans, those are a couple of examples. And yeah, Hulk Hogan is definitely one of them. A lot of people don't think that or realize it.
Sting, super humble, super nice. But actually, besides Hogan, who actually might be 1A or 1B with Hogan, he passed away now, but Roddy Piper was awesome
Okay.
with every fan. Just amazing.
I got my picture. All right. Hold on a second. Check this out. I don't know.
Wow, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool?
That's awesome.
This is probably 12 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. I look a lot more wild with my hair and whatnot. But I got to meet Roddy and Hulk, and there was a line a mile long. That was at a Comic-Con in Columbia, South Carolina, or Charlotte, North Carolina. I was speaking in Columbia, South Carolina at a libertarian event, and I had like 6 hours until my flight, and I knew they were in Charlotte. I drove all the way to Charlotte and got that picture and drove all the way back to the airport in Columbia and went back to DC. But Piper and Hogan were both super cool and laid back, and if you wanted to talk to them for a second, no matter how long that line was or who their handlers were, they were going to do it. What you just said.
So nice, so cool. You can talk to them for a few minutes. Of course, when you're in line, you're like, speed it up. Once you're with them, you're like, slow it down. This is great. So it's unbelievable. And he was great, too. When I met Piper, asked him to put my brother in a sleeper hold, and he did it. He didn't even question it. He did it.
See, that's funny because I've been with Glenn a number of times at different it's usually political events, he and I, but wrestling fans come up and I've seen people say, can you give me a choke slam or something like that? And he's like, the insurance liability alone, you seem like a cool guy, but I can't do that. And I get it.
Right,
maybe a sleeper hold's a little different than a choke slam.
Yeah. Even like Sergeant Slaughter, really cool, really nice. They charge extra for it, which is so fun that they do that. But I guess so many people ask him, it's almost a smart business move to do it. Like, hey, he'll put you in they'll put you basically, his version of the sleeper there. So it's just funny. It's like, man, he probably gets asked that so much that whoever's running the thing is probably like, I'll charge you, give you an extra $5 and do it for the picture or whatever. So, but
extra.
He's a really nice guy, really cool guy.
For sure. Absolutely. That's been my experience as well.
There's so many good guys, and it's funny that Flair, I've heard both sides of stories, and I've met Flair like 3 or 4 times. I don't know if I'm just batting 100 with him, or if I said something good or correct, or I didn't get him riled up. But I've met Flair before. He's been awesome every time. And the last time I met him, he literally, you're only supposed to do one. Either you get an autograph or you get a picture. And he goes, let's do both. He signs it, whatever, and then we got a picture, which was not technically against the rules, but it's not really what you're supposed to do. And I was like, go whatever. My buddy comes up right behind me. He goes, it's one or the other. So I was like, I don't know because I was talking about Steamboat and I got him all like happy or what was going on. But my buddy was all pitched. He goes, oh, what a thing. I go, why? He goes, because he would only take a picture with me. He wouldn't sign my thing. I was like, I got both. He goes, no, you didn't. I go, look, I got both. He's like, how the hell so I don't know. Maybe Flair just liked what I was saying.
Maybe. And you've been in charge of those sorts of things.
Yeah.
You got to move people along. Like it's just practical. You're paying for a certain amount of time. I've never had a bad experience. Ric Flair, met him multiple times. The most starstruck I've ever been in my entire life of all the people I've met is the first time I met Ric Flair.
Nice. Yep.
The one time I saw him get mad, this was probably in the mid-2000s. Our local hockey team, we had Ric Flair come in for a signing, 1 million people in line. There was this one guy at the beginning of the line who had he paid like you pay for how many signatures you get, but it was like a stack of 50 things.
Oh, geez.
And Rick's like, I'm not sitting here and signing with all these people in line. You're 50 things. He's like, I paid for it. He's like, well, go get your money back. I'll sign one thing. But, the guy was going to sell it, which is,
of course,
whatever. But after the next person in line, Flair was fine with. He didn't like that one person trying to take up his time with that. And I think everybody in line probably agreed with him.
A couple of years ago after a signing, my buddy goes, oh, Flair was here. I missed him, blah, blah. He saw him at the bar. And I go, man, I wouldn't go up to him because technically, you missed the signing. You missed your opportunity. And he's like, I'm just going to go up to him. 20 minutes later, I'm like, I like kind of forgot about it. He sends me a picture and he autographed at the bar. I was like, wow, how cool is that? Like, you should have went to the signing, you missed it, you were whatever. And Flair just was cool with them to the bar, signed and gave him a picture. I was like, wow, that's awesome, for free, obviously.
Yeah, I've never had that bad experience either. My friend that I grew up with that got me into wrestling, he's no longer with us, but in the 90s, Flair did a signing here in Charleston, but we went to the airport, right? Which today would be a different sort of discussion about talking to wrestlers at the airport. But we also, I was in my early 20s or whatever, and we know Flair was going to fly out to Charlotte or wherever he was going, and we saw him like in the lobby. He took pictures with both of us, was cool as hell, and he went straight to the bar, as Ric Flair would.
Yes.
But, we were kids, and he was nice. And there was a guy that worked in the airport that day, a young black guy, and I guess one of his coworkers told him that Ric Flair was there, and he ran down screaming, Ric Flair, going crazy. And that's just something I remember about that day, but Rick took a picture with him, too. It was pretty funny.
Pretty awesome that you can kind of meet these guys and like when they're cool, like you have like that experience, because like they'll forget it in 2 seconds. We'll remember it forever, kind of thing. So that to me, that I always think about that.
And I've heard different wrestlers say that, or different celebrities say that, and they understand that. And I think that's cool that they recognize that. I like when you see like pictures of Bailey as a teenager with different people she looked up to. Who's the one that's the big CM Punk fan that's in NXT? I think she just got.
She's gone now. Elena Black. Yeah, Cora Jade got released. Yeah,
but she shows these pictures of her. They were showing pictures of WWE referee Jessica Carr the other night with wrestlers and whatnot. Now she's a WWE referee. I like seeing that, people that have made it, done something, but you're seeing that they were a fan too, and they were just like us, and nobody knew their name, as far as being a famous celebrity in the wrestling world, and they made it too. It's just, it's a reminder that at the end of the day, we're all fans. Glenn Jacobs was scared of, as a little boy, and I think as a grown man, of Baron von Raschke. Like, he's a fanboy over that. He's one of the first times he remembers watching wrestling. I actually ordered a Baron von Raschke cameo for Glenn for his birthday one time, and maybe I'll share on the next show. But he's like, Glenn Jacobs, doing his thing. I paid for it, as the cameo people do. I sent it to Glenn. He retweeted. He's like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. But when he was a little boy, one of the first times he watched wrestling, it was Baron von Raschke, and he immediately turned off the TV because he was scared. So even Kane, was a wrestling fan, and was there where we were at one point.
Yep.
To my point.
Pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Pretty damn cool. Love it. So let's wrap this bad boy up and head towards the plugs. Jack, another great week in the can here. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2Man Power Trip. How about you, Jack?
You can find me on Twitter /X at JackHunter74, and that's where you can find my TikTok, Facebook, all the columns I write for different places. You can find it all there. I am on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the rest.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. See you right back here next week for a little Capital and